it's a good question. Why is it important to save the wild Sumatra? When we think about, there's so many wild places in the world that worth saving. For me, it's a place that is close to my heart. It's a place that is not only, important for biodiversity and wildlife. It's important for the people. It's important. It is the last place on earth that still have all this wildlife. It is probably the last place on earth that still have all this diverse ecosystem. The Loisa ecosystem is the last place on earth that still have rhino, elephant, tiger, orangutan, as well as sun bear roaming together in the wild. There probably so much more in the forest of Loisa that we don't know about, that we are yet to figure out. It might be a new breakthrough. It might be, all sorts of valuable material for humanities that we are yet to figure out. And saving this place doesn't mean that we're gonna lock it up forever. Saving this place meaning we are preserving the possibility that one day we might find something that might save us all. Palm oil is just a commodity. Palm oil itself, as a palm tree that was grown in Indonesia or Malaysia, is just a tree. It's just a commodity. The thing about palm oil, it's so lucrative as a business. It's very attractive. It's very cheap to grow. It's very cheap to produce, and it's very cheap to sell. It generates, a lot of money for people who have huge capital to start with. The problem with palm oil is really how it expands. It's really how they touch the issues from land rights, slavery, labor issues, wildlife and biodiversity. They touch all of that because it's so destructive. The way the industry have grown and encroach into the life of many. I mean, if you talk to local community working in oil palm, you think they live a better life, but in reality, when the oil palm expand to include their land, not only they lose their land, they lose any other option of livelihood. I don't even know how to describe how horrible life is for them. So many of them are forced to gather the entire family to work for an oil palm plantation just to make enough wages for the day. And children stop going to school because they have to help their parents harvesting fruit because they're just a day laborer. It's, all this is not the fault of the palm tree per se. It's the mistake of the people who are so greedy that seek to expand their plantation and seek to ramp up their production so they could fulfill the demand for snack food, for cosmetics, for produce that is created, from this cheap oil. There's a debate on maybe it's better to just donate your money to organization working on the ground or fighting these battles. But then at the same time, we also know that consumer play an important role because people keep buying. There's continue to be high demand on that, and company keep producing, and they keep reaping the forest because of that. So essentially, I can't say I have all the answers, but the most simplest thing you can do is to get yourself educated and aware. By being, slightly more aware of this issue, we tend to use that awareness in our decision making. Either you choose to be an advocate for this issue, or you choose to be a conscious consumer, or you simply choose to be a long-term donor for these causes. It's not just one or the other. There is so many things each and every one of us could do.
So on that as well, like it's such a complicated issue. I was reading recently about like fuel for cars in the future, and of course we're trying to stop using so much oil and petrol. And so some of the answers has been electric cars and also cars with biofuel. And then when I looked into that, they're looking at using palm oil, which would actually create a whole new huge demand. What do you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, when we think about using palm oil for fuel, the thing again is not the palm oil itself, but it's how it's produced. Why oil palm is so cheap is because the every other cost associated with this destruction is not borne by the companies. It's essentially passed on to local communities. When there is forest fires, company doesn't have to pay hospital costs for thousands and thousands of people. When they hardly have to deal with the environmental consequences of climate change. It's the thing that makes me so angry. There's so much misunderstanding. Like, yes, we want to reduce oil palm consumption. Why? Because we want to reduce the demand. Why? So the company would change their approach when it comes to palm oil. The catch, if we choose to switch all of our palm oil consumption into coconut oil, for example, we will be as destructive, if not more. We need to think about our consumption. We need to think about our greed. That's the very much the factor that destroy our environment, that destroy my forest, that destroy my water catchment. With what I had when I started, I'm happy with my blissful ignorance. I fall in love with the Loiset ecosystem first before I figure out how hard it is to protect it. But then now I'm committed. I'm married to the place. I'm not going anywhere. And these things like this that, you know, remind me why I do this, why I continue doing it, why I keep marching stubbornly, persistently, no matter what, keep going with this.